Well, so far so good. We'll find out in a few minutes. If I start lagging or the stream goes down, I guess we'll try again later. So at the moment, it looks like I have good health, and this thing would ever really let stuff leak too much unless they wanted to, but yeah, whatever. Let's cause some excitement around it, right? Apple has a new commercial using Muhammad Ali. That's kind of interesting. Is bezel-less the future, and what does that mean to those of us who repair and or break phones? We have a new repair location for one of our subscribers, which I'm really excited about because anytime someone does something and wants to kind of show off to the rest of the world what they're doing, I think we need to encourage that and help support that in any way we possibly can, which is why I also want to talk briefly about the YouTube so-called Adpocalypse. This is something that affects not only creators, but anyone who is on YouTube, which obviously means you, because you're watching this, right? Let's see, what else do we have? We have an iPhone theft mistake that led to someone's front door being broken down and them putting handcuffs, taken downtown, and it wasn't even a stolen phone that they had in the first place. So that's pretty scary, kind of weird, but hopefully it doesn't happen too often. Anyways, let's get this thing started. Hey, this is Mike from Go Cell Phone Repair, and it's the weekly live stream where we talk about phone stuff and really whatever topics you bring to the table, as long as they're tech related or relevant in some way. I like to kind of open this up to as much participation as possible. That's my goal. I really want to hear what people want to talk about. So we kind of have a loose bunch of topics that we go around, and the first one on the list that I really wanted to get to right away so we can get to it, get through it, and then move on to the next thing, and that is the so-called YouTube Adpocalypse. If you haven't heard about this just yet, here's what's going on. Whenever you see those little commercials, there might be one down here somewhere, or maybe before the video starts or sometime in the middle of it, you might see something pop up, and what that does is it helps people like me to earn a few dollars here and there. It's not something that's you're going to be able to retire on by any means unless you have millions of subscribers. So, for most of us, it's just kind of some supplemental income to kind of help out with the costs that are associated with running a YouTube channel, having sufficient bandwidth so that we can do live streams and things like this. And what happened is that YouTube kind of decided that in light of all the pressure from advertisers, they want to be a little more careful about who they are allowing to monetize their videos. So if you see commercials on someone's video, that means that they are part of the YouTube ad program. And YouTube recently announced that if you have less than 1,000 subscribers or you're getting less than 4,000 hours worth of view time within a 12-month period, that you will not be a part of that program anymore. So there's a lot of people talking about it, a lot of people upset, disappointed, sad, angry, all across the board. And I just wanted to address this quickly because while it doesn't directly affect my channel, I will be starting a new channel very soon, and obviously that channel is going to have to start from zero and get up to 1,000 subscribers. And I know a lot of people who do a great job of producing content for YouTube, not only in repair videos and things that are associated with tech, but just across the board. There's a lot of creativity out there, and one of the things I've always really enjoyed about YouTube is that you don't have to know anyone. It's not like Hollywood or the recording industry where you have to have connections. If you have talent, you can turn it loose on the public, and if they like you and they upvote you or they invest their time in watching what you produce, you have the same opportunities as anyone else that's on here, at least up till now. And so a lot of people are feeling, I think, a bit betrayed by the fact that YouTube kind of did a 180 on that. And I believe at the same time there's good reasons and not really any need to panic at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the comments here because I really want to hear what you guys are saying or have to say about this, what you're thinking. And then of course we'll move on to some other subjects. I'll try to make sure we get this within about an hour. That's really kind of my goal. So where'd my chat go? My chat is not here, so I need to go and make another adjustment. I'm not sure what happened, so hang tight for just a second. More than likely, I had chat information from a previous stream. And if I would just start using the same stream information every time, that wouldn't be a problem. Okay, so there we go. So we got N8S Tech Services in the building. We have Harvey. How you doing, Harvey? Good to see you. Beha, glad you could all join us. Join us, right? Let's see what's going on here. Oh no, as soon as you started speaking, there's lag. Spinning wheel of loading screen. I love that. Looking good now. 10-second delay. Okay, so hopefully that stays that way, guys. I don't know what happened. It looks like I have good stream health at the moment, and everything's always smooth every time I test it up until the time, 5 minutes before the stream starts. So you really never know until you get started. Hopefully it'll keep going here. Let's see. Harvey, Nate, how's the watch? Harvey, this watch is awesome. I actually I think it was last Thursday evening, I kind of showed it off a little bit. It's pretty cool. I did something kind of silly on this, and after I read your email, it made a lot of sense to me. So I got this Android watch, and it's really the first smartwatch that I've messed around with too much, or very much, I should say. And it wasn't connecting to my 5 gig or my 5G, whatever, from my modem, which I knew that was okay because a lot of things that are prior generations don't, so that's cool. But it wasn't doing a few other things that I thought that it would, which, Harvey, you told me don't expect it to do this. So not knowing any better, I did basically a hard reset on it, and I deleted all those cool watch faces that were built into it already, and I've gone to the download area in the watch and I can't find them. Anyways, so I'll contact you offline because there was a really cool face on here and I haven't been able to find it even in that community that you linked me to, and I want to get that watch face back. But other than that, it's pretty cool. It's making me feel very self-conscious about how much physical activity I engage in, which is a good thing because it kind of motivates you. One of the things about the what do they call it, the Fitbits and phones that track your physical activity is they make you really pay attention to, what did I do today? How much activity have I exerted? How much have I pushed myself? So being conscious of that, I think, is a huge plus for the health benefits. When you start, you really take a look at what you're doing. And if we did the same thing with what we ate, we'd probably gain some benefits there. So I probably need to start inputting that anymore or pretty soon. Hawaii, what's going on, man? I haven't seen you for a while, and I wanted to ask you about that whole missile situation that was going on. Did you get the alert where you're at over there? Because I know you're kind of close to Hawaii, right? I should probably look that up before I start talking. Just curious as to whether or not that affected you. So, awesome watch. Thank you, Harvey. Really appreciated. I will have some follow-up questions for you on that one. So regarding this YouTube thing, though, I wanted to state this because we have at least one person here in the chat that I know of who has a YouTube channel, and that's Nate. And Nate, I got your stuff just in time, so we're going to put this up here on the screen in just a minute. But I wanted to just kind of let everyone know that a lot of people at this point are just kind of going, oh man, what's the point of me trying anymore? Because if I don't get to 1,000, I can't monetize my channel. Now, obviously, if you're repairing phones or you're promoting your business, that alone, I'm sure, is your main motivation for having a YouTube channel and publishing content. So I don't think, I wouldn't assume that you're too concerned about that. But for the people who are, I just want to say that, at 1,000 subs, when I was below 1,000 subs, and when I was below 5,000 subs, it wasn't really bringing in a lot of money through the AdSense program. So one of the things about YouTube is that you can run these little commercials on your videos, but they don't pay a whole lot. And I'm really convinced that it's probably the least effective method for monetizing your channel. So if your goal is to generate some income from your YouTube channel, you should obviously be thinking of how you're going to make that happen and really not want to be dependent on Google advertising inside of your videos, because that could go away at any given time. They can be very specific about what type of content they allow. And while a lot of people are kind of putting this all on Google, you have to kind of look at it from their perspective. They are subject to the same types of pressures that any media that depends on advertisers is going to be subject to. Because if your advertiser says, hey, we're not going to pay you any advertising dollars if you don't do this, they've cut off your supply. And to keep in mind that anytime you earn money on YouTube, Google or YouTube is getting a cut of those proceeds. So they absolutely want to increase, they want to continue to make money. They want to optimize their system so they can make as much as they possibly can. And I really get the feeling that YouTube cares about their creators. They want to encourage people to create content and to put it on YouTube. But at the same time, we really have to understand, if the advertisers say, hey, we don't want our brand names associated with all these different things that are going on, it only makes sense that they would say, hey, we can't allow you to monetize your videos. So outside of people being controversial, we also have to look at it this way. It's very difficult to manually review the thousands of hours that probably get uploaded in maybe one single hour on YouTube. That's great. My doorbell's going to ring right now. So I have a feeling that what they're saying is we don't want to have to dig through so much stuff. So until you get to the 1,000 subscriber mark, you're not going to be part of the program. But if that stops you, if you don't think that you can get past 1,000 subs or past 4,000 hours worth of view time in a year, I don't think that you're really going to be losing a lot. I know it feels like a slap in the face. It's like, hey, you said this is open to everybody, and all of a sudden you're excluding people who don't meet this minimum criteria. But overall, I don't think it's going to affect too much of the AdSense revenue, of the revenue that you're generating on your channel. I would certainly hope not, because if you're not doing something outside of AdSense, you're really not taking advantage of this platform in the most effective manner. Whether you're promoting your business, or maybe you find sponsorships, or maybe you sell a product, or you put something down in the links, you have your own product that you're selling, or you have an affiliate program. There are a lot of ways that you can monetize YouTube. And like I said, if I had to rely on AdSense, I certainly wouldn't be able to make a living from that. So I hope that everyone keeps that in mind, and just kind of hang out and see what happens, because in the future this can change, and obviously you can build yourself up to that level once you're excluded. The only thing that you really lose, you still have the functionality of YouTube. You can still insert cards into your video. You still have all sorts of tools that are available to you. One of the things that you won't be able to do is to link to an outside website through the cards that show up. Where is it? Over, way over in that corner over there. Yeah, it's hard to point to. But you can still put links down in your video description. So I hope that no one feels like that's a deal breaker for them, and just stay at it. If you produce quality content that people are interested in seeing, your channel will grow. You will eventually hit that, that 1,000 subscriber minimum. And I have always wanted to utilize my channel to promote other people who are doing something similar. That's why I invite all of you guys who are techs, who have stores, who have videos. I'm going to be starting an interview series where we do some Google Hangouts on here. And if you have pictures, you have videos, anything you want to share that you say, hey, I'll be happy to put a link to your channel down here in the video description. As long as it's something that people are going to find useful, I am all about collaborating and promoting other channels, especially people who are just starting out and really need to get the ball rolling. Because, if there's some way that we can bring more information that's going to benefit everyone to this platform, there's no reason we shouldn't do that. I don't see that whole competitive thing like, oh, well, this channel's better than that, or if someone subscribes to this channel, you're going to lose a sub here. That's not really how YouTube works. It's generally you find something you're interested in, and then you find other channels that are centered around that same topic, and you just get more entertainment. You get more good out of it. So to me, that's kind of my feeling on this. I don't think the YouTube Adpocalypse is probably as bad as it sounds like, but there's certainly a lot of talk going on about that right now. Let's see. Carl, too much lag here. Can't watch 500. Let's see. 500 down and 15 up. Issue not here. We'll watch later. Ah, sorry to hear that, Carl. I'm hoping that's on your download, and I'm not, because it looks like I have good stream status here. That's a bummer. Hawaii, having so much trouble running M1 jumper, feeling like true microsoldering might be out of my reach. By the way, Hawaii, I meant to get back to you on that. One thing, and I don't think this will make a difference, but I went back and I was reading some materials, and people were talking about using the vibrator motor wire as opposed to the earpiece wire for the micro jumper. So it's probably about the same size. I know they're both insulated, so that probably won't change anything. And I gotta say that it's difficult. I'm not sure what kind of magnification you're using. Running the jumper wires, definitely not an easy thing, but I'm gonna come up with some tutorials hopefully on that, and maybe that'll help. I'm sure you've looked at some other materials out there, but it's small stuff. That is for sure. Let's see. But don't give up, man. Don't give up. First time I tried to run a jumper, it wasn't easy, but precision tools, patience, and a lot of practice, and eventually got through it. So I hope that's the same for you. Let's see. Nate, I use my channel for promoting my business. Only have less than 20 subs so far. I'm not making money. I think I have about 200 total views. I'm excited to break 1,000. Yeah, and what you're doing, I think for you, this is probably a non-issue at this point. You have videos out there, people get to watch you, which I'm going to show everyone what you're doing in the location right here in a second, which I think is awesome. I think probably most people should be doing this because it's really cool. Anyone who does something that their competitors don't should definitely be showing that to people that are walking by, to generate that interest and bring some traffic in. So yeah, for advertising, it's great. For advertising your business, you don't need to worry about the pennies that you're going to make from AdSense. And it's really, fractions of a penny when we talk about views. So not a big deal, I don't think, for most people. Let's see. Hawaii, I became a YouTube partner 13 years ago. Wow. I didn't know that. I'm going to have to check out your channel. Harvey, you can have live stream, but you can't have super chat. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. You can't have super chat. Thanks for reminding me about that. So no links, no external links in the cards, and also no super chat, which that one really is kind of a bummer, because if AdSense isn't going to pay you, at least you could say, hey, please support my channel, and try to get some super chats on there, and taking that away is kind of a bummer. I mean, you can always use PayPal or Patreon or something else like that, and that's one of the things that after I saw my last internet bill, I almost, had a second thought about, because I haven't created anything like that. I haven't really worried about it too much. And I had to have a conversation with them, because they did that little, oh, it's been a year, so we're going to add all this other stuff on until you call and say, no, I never asked for that. Get my bill back down to normal. So fortunately got that squared away. Piano with Sam. Hey, I just did a screen repair on an iPhone 6. Is there any way to unlock? It's on activation lock. If you're talking about the iCloud lock, no, for the most part. No iCloud bypass. Yeah, and a lot of people ask about that. That's a real common question. In fact, we should probably do, I don't know, we should probably have something posted, permanently that addresses that. And with rare exception, on your iCloud, these are your choices. You can go to Apple, and if you have identification and it matches the information that's on the iCloud account that's installed on the phone, I have been told, I haven't done this myself, I've been told that they will reset the iCloud lock on the phone. Now, you'll lose any information that's stored on the phone. You won't be able to log into that iCloud account again, but they will restore the phone and take the iCloud off. Now, that, obviously this is a good safeguard, because if someone loses their phone, you don't want just anyone to be able to walk into Apple and have access to their cloud information. And they kind of, we kind of use that as the kill switch, so that even if someone steals a phone, they can't use it until they prove that it's rightfully theirs. Now, if you bought a phone and you found out later on, or you restored it, or you upgraded it, or you did something and you discovered that, hey, there's an iCloud on this phone that I bought, I paid good money for, and the guy told me it was his, obviously that's bad for you. You're kind of the victim in the situation. Apple is not going to help you if your name doesn't match the name that's on the iCloud account. So I encourage people to take whatever steps are necessary to get their money back. And the answer is usually, well, I bought it on Craigslist or OfferUp. The person's gone. They're not answering their phone. And that sucks, I know. But it's one of those things where it's really a buyer beware. And it's kind of difficult. If you jump through a lot of hoops, you can usually determine if there's an iCloud on the phone. Online, they keep changing the resources on the Apple website, but there's usually a way that you can figure that out. Now, barring that, what I'll typically do if I can't figure it out is take the phone, say, okay, you want to sell me this? Let's plug it into iTunes, let's restore it, let's connect it to Wi-Fi and activate it, and go through all the steps that I normally would, when the phone was working, which I know if the screen's broken, that's kind of hard to do, right? But unfortunately, that's kind of the risk you take if you're dealing with someone that you have no recourse if there's a problem with the phone. You can't go back, and that's why we kind of expect to get a really good deal when we buy things online, or even when someone walks into the store and we don't know who that person is. We have to assume that we can trust them, because I talked about this a couple weeks ago. It's still possible after a month and a half to go back to your carrier and report your phone stolen, and then it gets blacklisted, and the person who it was sold to can't use the phone anymore. It's on that list, so that sucks. So sorry to hear that. It's really a bummer. There's like one exception that I know of, and that's on certain iPads. You can go from a 3G iPad, which has the cloud information stored on the 3G, one of the components for 3G, and if you remove that, you'll have a Wi-Fi only iPad without a cloud. But that's really one of the few exceptions that I'm aware of. Yeah, no super chat is a bummer. However, I got to tell you guys, to this date, I've had one super chat, and it was like not a lot of money. So, but for people who promote that, and if that's how you make your money on YouTube, that is a bummer. Especially if you're just starting out, because you kind of lose that motivation short term. But I look at it as a way to really say, hey, let's get to 1,000 subs. Let's get some people to subscribe. Just bought the phone from a guy. Yeah, I kind of figured hopefully he can give me the details. As he says, he is the original owner. We'll just have to wait, thinking ahead. Yeah, it's a bummer, man. It happens all the time. A lot of people get burned on those, and it's sad to hear about. Super chat takes a large percentage of the donation. Good riddance. Really? Okay, I didn't know that. I don't have a lot of experience with super chat. Luckily, I've got a guarantee. Oh, you paid through Google. That's a good thing about paying through PayPal and things like that, is that sometimes you can you can go back and say that someone sold you something they shouldn't have. The guy messaged me saying that he guarantees it's not iCloud locked. Yeah. So one of the things about eBay specifically, or buying online, that I tell people, and I kind of have my preferences, but I do business with eBay when it comes to buying things, and I use PayPal to make purchases, and I have it linked to a credit card, so I kind of have 3 layers of protection there, and I encourage people to do the same thing. You know, if you have a problem on eBay, they are very customer focused, so unless you're clearly just kind of trying to take advantage of the system, they tend to side with the customer when there's a dispute like this. So hopefully you can get your money back on that one. All right, so what else do we have here? We had something else that I thought you might be interested in. Oh, and before I get to that, I want to show you guys something that just kills me. And I'm not really concerned about this, but I thought it was pretty funny. Let's see if we can get this guy up here. Let's get rid of the YouTube Apocalypse. And I want you to take a look at this. Now, you may not recognize this. It's easy for me to recognize because, well, it's my material. So there is a channel on YouTube right now, and this is by far not the first time that this has happened, and I'm actually laughing about it at this point. Okay, I'm not upset anymore. So I used to spend a lot of time looking for duplicate content where people stole my videos, uploaded them to their channels, and then they're trying to get AdSense revenue or sell affiliates, or whatever it is that they're trying to do. So this channel, it's probably still functional. As of this morning, I checked it and it was. And if you look at this guy's stuff, it's about, I don't know, 75% of my videos are on this channel. It's called Top Bluetooth Headphones. He's got 2 subscribers. And if you don't recognize this, I can tell you that I do, because I recognize the videos. If not, you can see my watch on my hand there in the video. So these are all, like, basically every video practically that I've ever published to YouTube is found on this other person's channel. And I'm not even mad. I did submit a copyright takedown notice to YouTube on like 5 of the videos, and they took down 5 of the videos and left the rest of them up here. So I actually contacted a few other creators who have their content on the same person's channel. But it's just funny, you go through this and my entire channel is uploaded, and at the same time it's like 1 or 2 views per video. So really, I can't be that upset. The guy has 2 subscribers, so obviously he won't be able to monetize his channel for very much longer. And really, he's not getting a lot of traffic. It is the principle of the thing. I understand that. I don't like people to be pirates and take my content and upload it somewhere else. But, it's kind of the risk that you take, and we have to police that stuff. It's kind of funny how it works. If you uploaded something that was copywritten or copyrighted, like a movie or a music video or something like that, it would almost immediately get taken down, because YouTube has systems in place to detect that kind of duplicate content. But for people like me, and probably you upload something to YouTube, someone else copies it, puts it on their channel, and there it sits. So I don't understand why that system isn't automated just like the others. But if you hopefully I'll get this taken down pretty soon. In fact, he's got quite a few of these that have 0 views on them, but it's a little frustrating to have to, I used to chase this stuff down when people were just getting crazy amounts of views, and this one, for whatever reason, he doesn't have a lot on there. But one more step that we have to take to kind of take care of stuff on our own. All right, so let's see what else. Oh, so here we go. We have this, and this is the exciting part for me, everyone. Congratulations to Nate. He has got N8S Tech Services set up. I don't know the exact location, but I did want to show you that the way that this thing is set up, I think, is brilliant. So on this photo, it's a little tough to see because of the lighting. But on the left-hand side there, you can see there's a monitor that's actually facing out towards the traffic that's going through this. I assume this is a mall. It looks like it is. So, yeah. So this is the outside of the store. And Nate, I think you said you were set up like in a computer store of some sort. I'm not sure exactly what's on the inside or why I can't scroll through your photos here. Let's see if we can fix this here real quick. I thought I had this thing on manual. Yes, I do. I've got to go and make some changes. Bear with me for a second. Every time I add slides, I have to do something to... Here we go. This software is not exactly perfect, but it's hard to complain for what it does. All right, so here we go. N8S Tech Services. Check this out. Facing towards the outside. and you can see exactly what's on. I assume maybe you roll some videos here while you're not working, and then while you're on the job, you can project whatever you have under your camera or under your microscope out into the towards the oncoming traffic or the passerby traffic, which is cool because a lot of what you'll see, basically, if you check out Nate's channel, and you absolutely should, like he said, he started out, he doesn't have a ton of subscribers, but the content's great. I really enjoyed watching the videos that Nate has on his channel. Now, we would assume that any of the customers that walk by the store can actually see what he's doing, which is really cool. And then on the inside here, you can take a look behind the scenes. This is kind of on the inside of the desk, and I split this into 2 images because it was a little wide to fit there in my square, so I can see my familiar looking hot air station there on the left. Let's see, I see an Omnivice sitting by the microscope, which I don't know about you, but I rarely use because it's kind of awkward. But that definitely looks like an Amscope. USB camera, we've got a monitor there. Hako, probably a dual port FM 203 or something like that. And then if we look over this way, we've got computers all over the place. I see a power supply sitting on the floor that also looks very familiar. And what else do we have? What kind of camera are you using overhead, Nate? Because I see the microscope camera. I mean, I see the USB camera. I'm just wondering if you have like something that's a little further away. And where is your fume extractor? That's my third question. But we've got a nice little bench set up there with some silicone mats and power rail going, or power supply, or whatever you want to call that, on the back wall there. Power run, something like that. Race, what is it they call it? Pretty cool, man. I like it. And obviously the partition between you and the public kind of keeps you from having issues with people getting into your way or children walking up and grabbing sharp objects or anything like that. This is really cool. I like it. Let's see. So let's go back here to the comments again. Great looking store. Yes, I agree. That is really cool. Yeah, well, here's the thing. I have most of my videos are watermarked, but for whatever reason, I get the impression that as long as you have content and people are watching it, that benefits you in some way. And if you look at what this guy did, it was really frustrating. He took my videos with the watermark, uploaded them, and then copied my video description, but took out any links that I had in my video description and aimed them towards one of those survey sites, where you fill out a survey and they say you're going to get a gift card and you never do, and it takes you 2 hours, and then somehow there's an affiliate program associated with that. So I assume that was their motivation for that. They also have Amazon links, so I'm not going to drop a dime on them, but if Amazon found out that someone was on YouTube pirating other people's content and then sending referral links to the Amazon program, I'm sure that they would have some problems with that. So fair warning if you're watching, dude. Let's see. Yep, inside a computer store. So Nate is inside of a computer store. Took the pics to leave out his stuff. Okay, cool. Fair enough. And let's see. Rolling video all day. That's awesome. Is it possible to fix the iPhone 6 motherboard power issue on your own? Motorflight, that depends. Let's see. Do we get an answer here? Because that's going to be a complex one. Check my place. Yep. Oh yeah, Hawaii. We should get some of your photos on here. And I don't like to go and just take people's stuff without their knowledge. So if there's anything you're cool with me using, shoot me an email or something, man. I'd be happy to put it on here for you, if that helps in any way. Omnivice is great weight to hold down boards. Oh, good point. Yeah, it's great weight to hold down anything. TriStar. No hand camera setup, and the fume extractor is on the way. Awesome. What kind of fume extractor did you get? I'm curious, because I'm really wanting to upgrade mine. It doesn't do as much as I'd like it to, but man, those things are expensive. If you want to get something decent, I thought about building my own, but that looks like a 2-day long project. Let's see. Piano Sam. I just started doing screen repairs and want to offer it as a service. However, I want to be assured that I know how to do it. How would you recommend I practice doing repairs on phones? I would recommend that you buy some phones that you're not worried about damaging. Watch as many YouTube tutorials as you possibly can, and depending on what types of repairs you're doing, consider a couple options. And this is one that I get a lot, from people, because I do a training program that's 4 days long where we go through in great detail, what you're going to do as far as, let's say, 85% of the repairs that come into a store. Now, if all you're doing is replacing screens on iPhones, you don't need to go to a 4-day repair program. In fact, there are some people who don't need to go to repair training. It really kind of depends on the individual. And, I would encourage you to consider a couple different options. One, the best one there is, and that is to learn this stuff hands-on, no matter how you do it. So if you can get a hold of some phones you're not worried about damaging that actually function properly, and practice taking them apart and putting them back together until you feel completely competent with them. Like you're doing everything right. The phones always work when you put them back together. Secondly, there's always the option of getting some training. You can generally find a training that's going to be suited to your needs depending on what your goals are and how far you want to go with it. And the third thing that a lot of people have been doing lately, that I'm aware of, is that they will find either an apprenticeship or a part-time position working at a phone repair shop. It's not too difficult to find someone who's willing to hire you at a very, expect minimum wage or slightly above that. But they'll bring you in, they'll train you how to do basic repairs, and they'll let you, kind of get that hands-on experience in their shops, whether it's on a voluntary basis or if you're being compensated or whatever it is, and whatever you're comfortable with. And of course, it's going to be bad for them if you go in and they teach you everything they know, and then you decide to go open up your own business. But that's probably not as easy as it sounds. But for getting hands-on experience, there are a lot of companies who have employees that come and go, so they'll bring you in, they'll train you, and then if you feel like you're ready to go do your own thing, or maybe you want to do that on the side somewhere else, that's always an option. But one thing I would discourage you from doing is just saying, okay, I'm just going to start fixing people's phones and learn while you're working on customer devices, unless you have a sufficient bankroll to replace anything that you damage, and that's the worst case scenario. Someone gives you a $1,000 phone, and that phone doesn't work anymore, and now you have to get them another phone. So you want to be prepared for that kind of stuff and really confident about whatever it is that you're going to be working on. And Nate, I think I asked you a question. Let me back up here. I don't want to miss any comments. I try to stay up with the comments as much as possible. So if I miss your question, feel free to repeat it, and I will do my best to make sure we address everything here. Let's see. Piano Sam, I doubt I'll be able to go onto the program, to be honest, mate. Would be a long flight from the UK. Yeah, no worries. And I'm not here to pitch my program, and it's not for everyone, obviously. I have people who just are looking for a completely different change of pace and know nothing about phone repair, and we take them from zero to, competent as much as possible within that 4-day period. And there are plenty of people who I wouldn't recommend take a repair training program. And outside of that, if it's not an option, then you've got to learn somewhere. And the best way to do that is getting a hold of some used phones and take a look at what people are paying to fix right now. Call up a repair shop and talk to someone who works there and say, hey, what do you guys do the most of? Or do some digging, or talk here, talk to anyone on here or within any repair community and say, what is the majority of your business? And if they say, well, we pretty much concentrate on iPhone 6 up to iPhone 8, or iPhone 7, or that's the majority of our business. Well, those are the phones that you want to become competent with, and I wouldn't worry about being up to date on the latest, greatest, because right now, if someone brings you an iPhone 10, it's going to cost them really a lot more than is going to be practical for you to perform that repair. So you don't have to be up to date to today. You have to be up to date with what the majority of the market is using as far as repairable handsets go. And for that, I'd say, iPhone 6 probably up to the 7, maybe the 8, and then the Galaxy series anywhere from the Galaxy S6 up to, probably at this point, Galaxy S8, that kind of stuff. And, concentrate on the things that make you money. If you go to any repair store, you'll see what people do is they break phones and they get them wet. And obviously those are two very different repairs. But if you can master the screen replacement techniques that are required, you'll be able to make enough money to further your education for sure. Let's see. I have Nate has no repair training, all learned from YouTube. And I brought this up. I actually asked you a question, Nate, and I don't know if I ever got an answer from you. Are you on Reddit? Because that comment, I saw a very similar comment about micro soldering, and I was thinking, wow, that's really cool. Because I have to say, outside of the basics, a lot of what I learned as far as the more advanced repairs go is, from YouTube. And outside of that, when we first got into the phone repair business, there wasn't much in the way of resources. Before iFixit and before YouTube, it was tear this phone down and figure out how it works. And if you break it in the process, now you have to replace it. So a lot of this stuff was on the job training, self-discovery, if you want to call it that. But what's cool is that if you work with a certain manufacturer, you tend to see a lot of patterns. So it's not like you have to learn a brand new phone from A to Z every single time a new phone is released, because they tend to follow very similar designs, outside of big new form factors that are launched now and then. Let's see. Hawaii says, take my stuff. What stuff? Follow Raro Shack on Instagram. Okay. Is that for tutorial stuff or what? Harvey, how about offering an online course, Mike? Yeah, you know, I've been asked that quite a few times, and I've looked at some online courses, and there's two reasons I haven't rolled out an online course of my own. And I actually have a friend who runs a really cool website. I want to say it's called Simversity. He might have changed the name at this point, but it's very similar to a lot of the other online education websites that are out there. And if I did, I would definitely choose his because I like the way it's set up, and obviously because he's a personal friend. However, the reason that I haven't, the two main reasons that I haven't are, one, you know, in order to offer feedback, which is crucial when it comes to quite a few people who come through a training program. You know, there are questions, and you see people starting to develop mistakes or going about things the wrong way, and they might actually have a successful repair, but you want to warn them that if they do phones the same way every time, they're going to end up running into some problems. So my concern is, how do we, you know, sort of grade the homework? Like if there's a project and we say, okay, we need you to do this from start to finish, now we need to be able to see how you did it. It's going to be a little more difficult for me to control how they document this information, you know, as far as recording it, you know, unless everyone has an HD camera pointed at their desktop, and that's only half of the problem. The other problem is, you know, it's going to take some time, so I'd have to figure out how to kind of source the grading on that, you know, to kind of give people feedback, and I'd really prefer to do it in real time, which again will limit, you know, based on your internet connection, among other things, how that's going to work. And the other question is, how do I make sure that I'm offering content that is valuable beyond what you can find online on your own? You know, because we do have YouTube, and we've got the iFixit website, and we've got all sorts of resources for people to learn. So if I was going to offer an online program, I would want it to be value-based in a way that people said, you know what, even though I can see a video on YouTube that shows me how to do this, here's why I want to take this training program, because it has something that's really worthwhile and that I'm going to get a huge benefit out of going this direction instead. And I haven't really put my finger on exactly what that is. You know, beyond feedback, what, you know, how do I create an interactive course that will get people to competency at a rapid pace, and at the same time really give them something that you can't get just from watching a video? So if you have any suggestions, feel free to email those to me, because I've thought about that for a long time, and there are just quite a few challenges, I think, as far as the disconnection between someone sitting in front of a camera and actually looking over their shoulder as they're working on a phone or repair or completing a project or something like that. Those are my main two main challenges. Everything you said just actually applied to me. Piano with Sam, very coincidental, just got a part-time job at a repair store over here. Well, there you go. I mean, really, if someone's going to train you, that's hard to beat, you know, hands-on experience. That's what it really comes down to. And that's where it's difficult to anticipate the difficulties that you're going to run into when you're doing your own repairs, unless you're actually already doing some. So I think that's probably the best option. I'm glad you're getting some experience already. Learned how to do a dock replacement and learned loads of skills. Yeah. There's really no substitute for hands-on experience. You know, that's getting a feel for something. You know, for me to describe how hard you need to turn this screw, or, you know, what angle you should go in at, and, you know, all of these tiny little nuances that go into successful phone repair, and probably, you know, electronics in general, comes down to getting that hands-on experience and seeing how things, you know, the tactile feedback and how things react when you twist them a certain way or push them a certain way, that kind of stuff. You know, getting a feel for it, so to speak. I found a cheap iPhone SE and iPhone 6 that I bought and fixed, sold the SE, and just waiting on news about the iPhone 6. Yeah, so if that thing's activation locked and you cannot get out of it, hopefully you can get your money back. But if you can't, now you have a parts phone. You know, there are a certain number of parts that you'll be able to take off that phone and hopefully get back some of the money that you invested in. And that's what we end up doing quite often when it comes to iCloud locked phones. iCloud locked devices are great for donor parts, you know, and that's about it. Hawaii needs a worker, so if you want to move out there, there you go. I might take you up on that offer. Nate, never been on Reddit. Okay, somebody else that had made a very similar comment about microsoldering just said, hey, you know, I've never taken a single lesson with microsoldering. I learned everything that I do on YouTube, and I'm doing great. So, you know, if that works for you, cool. I subscribe to iPad Rehab Forum and get almost all my help from there. Okay, awesome. Let's see. I just lost my internet. Nate, your stream stopped? because we're looking good as far as I can tell. I think we're okay. So let's move on here. What do we have besides the YouTube apocalypse? People pirating stuff. Oh, you know, speaking of theft, this is pretty crazy. There was a couple in San Francisco, apparently, who bought an iPhone 10. And I don't know if you remember this, but a few weeks ago I was talking about this big theft that happened where they robbed, I want to say it was a UPS truck. So someone kind of knew that Apple was taking delivery of a whole bunch of iPhone 10s. It might have actually been right after the 10 launched. And why isn't my deal scrolling here? Let's see if we can fix this really quick. Ah, Mike, you're such an amateur. Okay, this thing is supposed to change on its own. Well, I guess we'll do it manually. So what happened is there was a couple in San Francisco who bought an iPhone 10, and somehow that showed up as being reported as a lost or a stolen serial number. This is my understanding. So anyone who knows different, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to misquote any of these articles. But the way I took this was that Apple lost a bunch of phones. They were stolen from a truck that was parked outside. I don't know how that happens. There was a huge amount. It was something like $300,000 worth of phones because, you know, they're $1,000 a piece, right? This couple had an iPhone 10 that was not supposed to be on that list, and it ended up showing up on the list of stolen phones. So the next thing they know, they get a knock at their door and a battering ram, and the police bust in, arrest the husband, take him downtown without telling him what's going on. The wife apparently was not, had just gotten out of the shower or something like that, wasn't fully clothed. So they make her sit down and she says, hey, can I get some clothes to put on? And they apparently went to the closet and picked out some clothes for her and said, here, use this. And it wasn't until they realized what had gone wrong, they brought the husband back to the house and said, sorry, wrong phone. This wasn't you. You weren't involved in this theft. So you're off the hook. And my understanding is that this entire time the guy had no idea what was going on other than there was a SWAT team or something outside the door who broke down the door with a battering ram, came in, grabbed him, took him downtown without ever telling him what was going on. And of course he's freaking out. And you know, you have to think that when these kind of situations come out, you know, like the one, if you remember a few weeks ago where there was a someone who was completely unrelated to this swatting incident, except that his address was one that was given by the guy who called in and said that there was some crime going on. And this is a big thing apparently within the gaming world, which is scary. And he walked outside to open the door and they shot him. And he wasn't even involved in a crime. So this is kind of crazy, you know. I mean, if you had possession of a stolen phone, that would obviously not be a good thing. And you'd expect, you know, at some point for something to go wrong. But when someone makes a clerical error and says, oh, here's an address that's showing a serial number of a phone that we've reported stolen, and the next thing you know, your door's being broken down, and you have nothing to do with this crime that took place in the first place. How does this happen, and how does it keep happening? Really scary. I mean, what do you do? It seems like it would have been as simple as saying, let's knock on the door. You answer the door. Hey, we think you have a stolen phone. You bring your phone up and say, here's the serial number, and they say, oh, you know, wrong phone or whatever. I don't know all of the details on this. It's still kind of emerging, but pretty scary stuff there to just be sitting at home, innocent, and then having your door broken down and with the battering ram, and then you get handcuffs slapped on you because someone sent out the wrong information somewhere along the line. I don't know where the breakdown was, but it certainly doesn't seem like a matter of life and death that would justify having, you know, a no-knock raid, so to speak, executed at your residence. I don't understand how this happened, but man, think about, you know, if this guy had been under the impression that there were criminals outside of his house, and maybe he's a registered gun owner and wants to defend himself and or his family, and walks up to the door with the firearm, he would be dead right now because someone made a mistake somewhere that, you know, just doesn't seem like this should even be possible in this day and age. And yet these articles keep coming up. So I don't know what to say. Be careful, I guess, out there. Be careful about buying stolen phones, that's for sure. Let's see. Nate's back with us. Cool. Piano Sam paid £54 for the iPhone 6, about $75 worth. Can't find many cheap broken iPhones over here. Most people have the same idea. And, you know, that's one of the things about repairing broken phones that used to be a good idea and not so much anymore is we would go onto Craigslist or eBay or anywhere else, and people would want to sell their broken phones, and you go, I can fix that. So you get them, and you get a pretty good deal on it. And of course, what we see now is that there are enough people doing that the pricing has become competitive. And even when customers walk into the store and they say, "Hey, I've got this broken phone, it doesn't power up, and I see that people are willing to pay this much money for it on eBay," and we say, "Yeah, well, we can't do that. That price is ridiculous." But there's kind of that perception, especially if it has an Apple on it, that you're going to run into people asking a lot more than it's probably worth, in most cases. But that's kind of the way it goes. Now, if you have something that requires a very complex repair, hopefully you'll be able to get a better deal on it. But, with all these people like Nate learning how to microsolder, I don't know, man. With the number of people that are out there doing these kind of repairs. Oops, sorry about that if that audio picked up there. So yeah, it's tougher to find used phones, broken phones, at a good price anymore. It's safer to go to the middle of the desert to activate your phone. Yeah, but I mean, once you take it back into a network, you're still going to show up there, right? People here add ridiculous labor. I'm happy to add less labor and get more customers. Simple formula. Okay, I want to come back to that in just a second. Flea markets and government auctions have cheap broken phones. Good call. We actually had a guy, this was the craziest thing a few years ago. We had a guy who worked at a theme park. He worked at Six Flags, and he did some sort of cleanup, and he would come in, I don't know, once a month or so with a literal box full of phones that he said he found underneath the roller coaster. So people would go on the roller coaster, and they would, things would drop out of their pockets, and all that stuff obviously goes to the lost and found, you would assume. But in some cases, I guess there were people who didn't have time, didn't realize it was an option. Maybe they had to fly out of town, or for whatever reasons, basically abandoned their phone at the theme park. And he would come in, and some were, in working condition and others weren't. But he'd come in with a box of phones every month and say, "What can I get for these?" Or, "Can you fix this for me?" Or, I've got this iPod Touch that needs a new screen because it fell off a coaster. And before the days of the iCloud and factory reset protection or anything like that, you just restore the phone and you go off and use it again. I would think that they'd want to try to track down the owner, hopefully, but here was the catch-22. We'd get these phones all the time that we wanted to return to the rightful owner, but this was before the days of iClouds, and they would have a lock on the screen, so you could not unlock the phone and try to look at any of the contents or owner information or anything like that. So your only real option was to reset the phone, and once you did that, there's no contact information. And I can tell you from experience that if you turn a phone into some carriers' some locations for some carriers, and I don't really know what the difference is from one to the next, in many cases that phone will not end up going back to its rightful owner. So you would think that, hey, I'll just go turn this phone in at the company that provides service to the phone and they'll get it back to the customer. Don't rely on that. And it's not necessarily a reflection of the carrier, but it is a reflection of the employees who know that the phone has some value to it. And, 7 or 8 people in the store, phone gets turned in and it never gets back to the rightful owner. So what does that make you think? So it's tough. There weren't a lot of options. We could go at a certain point, they came up with the ESN resource that will show us whether or not somebody's phone's stolen or, reported lost or whatever. So at least that way you knew before you bought it, you're not going to get something that's stolen. But at the same time, if it's got a lock on it, it's very difficult to tell if that phone belongs to someone else until you restore it and then you find the iCloud. So it's a good idea, to protect the owners, but obviously it could use some improvement. Now, going back to Piano's comment, can't find many cheap broken phones, or was it? I'm happy to add less labor and get more customers. Simple formula. That is what's a good way to describe this? So that would be intuitive thinking, right? Hey, if I do something for less money than other people, I'm going to get more of that business. And I agree. And I cannot argue with that. That is absolutely true. If you're able to offer the same product or the same service, the same standard of quality as your competitor at a lower price, all other things being equal, because there are many factors that go into this equation, that should get you more business. However, there is something that, and I did not coin this phrase, I'm not sure where it came from, I've heard it used by more than one person, but I would caution you against what we call the race to the bottom. And this is, once again, something that's intuitive to people who are entering into a business that they've never been involved in before. And that is, how do I do this for less money so that I can get more customers? And while that makes sense when you're dealing with commodities, what that tends to do in many situations is to take two people who are competing for a customer and pretty much just encourage them to engage in a price war. So if someone says, hey, I'm going to match someone else's price, you can see what happens quickly. You know, if you tell me that you've got the best price in town and I call you up and you say, hey, it's $99 for this, and the last place I called said $119, do you think I'm not going to call back the other place and say, hey, well, this guy quoted me $99. Can you match his price? Because, well, it's a little more convenient for me to get to you. And they say, I tell you what, I'll go ahead and we'll do the repair for $99. And then I go, well, let me go back to you and say, you know, the other place I just called that's actually closer to me is going to do the repair for $99. So what can you do for me? Because I've got to travel a little ways to get to you. And this will go back and forth all day long until you get to the point where you're making little to no money. Now, I completely understand the position of entering into a business and saying, how do I get my business going? How do I get customers through my door? Because I'm trying to establish myself right now. And the easiest way to do it is to offer the same product or service that someone else does for a lower price, right? And from the customer's perspective, that sounds like a good deal. The thing that I think that you'll find quickly, and I'm not making any assumptions about your business, but what you'll find quickly is that paying attention to nothing but price, nothing but having a competitive price will over time get you in trouble, and it will minimize your profits, and it will in many cases lower your credibility and the customer's perception of who you are. So just something to think about. Again, I never tell anyone how to run their business, but I like to kind of, share with you what my experience has been. And when it comes to something where it's a skilled service, and we could argue that replacing iPhone screens isn't necessarily a skilled service. So I understand that. You could probably, I'm confident I could teach a 10-year-old how to replace an iPhone screen. My nephew was doing it when he was 14. That's when he started fixing phones, and he's been in it for a long time. So it's not necessarily every single repair requires anything special. There are lots of people that can do it. So if you take a look at those services that are a dime a dozen all along the block, that's great. But I would strongly encourage you to think about your long term. If that's a route that you choose, how are you going to make your business more profitable in the future? Because what you'll find out a lot of times is that all it takes is one broken phone that sets you back a few $100s, and now how many more repairs do you have to do to make up for that mistake or for that? It may not even be something that you did. Sometimes we have phones that come in, they're working when they get to us, and we do very standard routine repairs that we've done 100 times before, and we turn the phone back on, and for some reason it's not working. And that reason tends to be that there was a component, or there was a prior repair, or there was some water damage, or there was something that was just kind of hanging by a thread that just kept the phone working for the moment. And as soon as we remove the screen, that little thing that was barely holding on there just comes off the rest of the way. And now we have a phone that doesn't work anymore. So until we're able to enter into that level of skilled repairs on a different different tier, we have to figure out what's going to cover our costs and what's going to cover our liabilities. And if you take a look at people who are in business, it's very easy, for me as a customer, and I'm guilty of this myself. I've gone into a store and I've said, I could buy the same thing online for, half the price. Well, obviously there are some expenses involved in running a brick and mortar business, and that's the thing that was easy for me to overlook a long time ago, until I became involved in it myself. So all I'm saying is that make sure you're going to be profitable and you don't undersell yourself. You might be doing a higher quality repair than your competitor and charging less than they are. So what does that say? That says that the person that you're competing with understands how to extract more profit from their business. So, we don't want to take advantage of people, but we certainly want to succeed and be able to prosper and to grow. So just something I want to throw out there, because I've seen a lot of people go down that path, like, hey, I'm going to be the cheapest there is. And while I encourage you to be competitive, I would also say at the same time, put some, when you feel like you're offering a valued service, make sure you're assigning the correct value to it, because when you get into that category of the cheapest guy in town, then you tend to stay there for, you know, indefinitely, and your repeat customers are absolutely going to come back and say, you only charged me this much last time, so this is all I'm going to pay now, and anyone I refer to you is going to pay the lowest quality, you know, the lowest possible price, and you have a reputation as the guy that does things for the smallest amount of money, so you will attract a clientele whose only concern is spending the least amount of money possible. That's been my experience in any case. And I've seen people that are way overpriced and are you know, have a well-established clientele, and they make lots of money because they do the job right, and they're more concerned with the customer experience and the quality of the repair than, you know, just the price factor, which, you know, I acknowledge price is a factor. Just be careful. That's all I'm saying. Let's get back here to some comments. Flea markets and government auctions, yes. And recycling centers used to be able to find phones there also. Never really thought about it like that. I'm not the kind of person that would just focus on price, so price would be just as important as anything else. Okay, cool. Well, I certainly hope that all you take away from that is to really put some thought into your pricing. So again, I'm not trying to discourage you or, you know, tell you how to run your business. I'm just saying that this is what we've seen, and you know, there's bargain basement pricing, which is, it's just an easy thing to do. What's more challenging is to set yourself aside, set yourself apart through customer experience and quality. But when you do that, and when you get into higher level repairs that someone else can't handle, you know, if someone comes into me and says, hey, do you fix Touch IC on the iPhone 6 Plus? Yes, I do. I absolutely do. And they say, oh, well, you know, the shop that I went to before, they don't do that. And I go, well, you know, that's completely understandable. Not everyone offers that service. But if you know that someone offers a repair that is outside of the skill set of the business that you're currently working with, who would you choose in the future for a routine repair? You know, more than likely, again, all things being equal, you're probably going to say, well, I think the guy that knows these phones inside and out and has these other repairs that aren't available elsewhere, I think I'm going to go back to him because he must know what he's doing. Now, of course, if the one guy's across the street and the other one's 10 miles away, that's going to be, you know, geography is a huge factor here. But okay, enough of that one, Mike. I know I went on and on with that a little bit, but I've seen a lot of people who have failed because that was the only thing that they took into consideration, is how do I do this cheaper? And if we're dealing with commodities, that's fine, but we're talking about a skilled industry here, and it's gonna, I think, become necessary for us to be more skilled in the future. So let's get these handcuffs off the screen. I'm tired of looking at that. I think that this guy too, this pirate, can go away. So what do you guys think about this new advertisement from Apple? I know I'm kind of changing drastically on this subject here, but their campaign, or at least this commercial they're doing, is all focused on the selfie thing. And they've actually, I can't play it here. I don't think that I would be allowed to do that. But if you go look it up, they play this advertisement of selfies, and it's got the Muhammad Ali speech on it about I am the greatest. If you haven't heard that, you absolutely should. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek. You know, Muhammad Ali was not only a very, you know, highly skillful boxer, but he had a great sense of humor. You know, he was bragging about himself, and he was being funny about it at the same time. So I kind of appreciate that part of the commercial there. You know, it's funny. Originally I was like, how dare they take Muhammad Ali's speech? But obviously whoever owns the rights to that, you know, was okay with Apple doing so. But, you know, all the focus here is on the selfie cam and the front-facing camera and the Face ID, and knowing that the iPhone X really didn't take off the way that they thought that it should have, and even speculation about the iPhone X being discontinued this year sometime in the summer makes me wonder if this isn't just, hey, please pay attention to our front-facing camera, because, you know, outside of that, I'm not sure that there's anything groundbreaking on the iPhone X. I mean, we have the wireless charging in both models, the iPhone 8 and the iPhone X. We have facial recognition, and beyond that, you know, what's exciting about the iPhone X? Obviously, it kind of depends on the person, I'm sure, but I'm curious as to what you guys think about this whole thing. You know, just focusing on the front-facing camera, which I've always kind of thought that would be something that more manufacturers should pay attention to, is having a higher quality front-facing camera, because obviously selfies are the thing, right? And at the same time, if you see someone with the selfie stick, it's a little hard to laugh And when you see these things where people say, oops, my camera actually accidentally went off and took a picture of me with the front facing camera. Yeah, right. You know, okay, we all know the joke on that one. But my other question is this: what's going to happen to all of these photos? Not just selfie photos, but in particular selfie photos that people are taking. There must be 1 million selfie photos being snapped at any given minute, you know, if you think about the whole world. And how many of you go back and ever look at these photos? Because I'll admit right now, one thing that I've cut down on is taking pictures with my camera, because I have thousands of images that I'll never take a second look at, and they just kind of take up space, and then you say, well, let's offload it, or, you know, put it on an external drive, or maybe some of you put it on the cloud, and it's like, are you ever really going to go back and look at those pictures? And I think the vast majority of them will never be viewed again, except maybe by someone in the future who comes back and is just baffled by our fascination with taking pictures of ourselves in this day and age, because it is kind of the new thing. And if you look back in history and you see silly things that people used to do, I can only imagine 100 years from now, someone coming back and looking at this stuff and going, what are these people thinking? You know, it's like you got to take a picture every 5 minutes, pretty much. Let's see, Mike, I read something yesterday that Apple will discontinue the iPhone 10 in a few months. Yeah, and that's what I've been hearing also, and it wouldn't surprise me. But then, you know, what comes next? A bigger screen, obviously, on the iPhone 10s or 10 Plus, or I don't know, and everyone calls this the iPhone X, which you can't blame them for, because if you are going to completely change your numbering system and start using Roman numerals, well, duh, you know, it looks like an X, especially because you skipped a number. There's no iPhone 9, but I suspect that was done on purpose. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they discontinued the iPhone 10, because, you know, if they're going to be stuck with them, that would be the logical thing to do, right? Hawaii Sidecard says, yawn. Yeah, and I kind of said the same thing, although I love the speech. I played it once, and I was like, yeah, I don't think it's, I am the greatest. And that, you know, feeding into the narcissistic tendencies that some people may have when they use Facebook and Instagram and everything else. It's just funny. It's not anything that makes me feel like I can't live without it, that's for sure. So what's next? You know, what is the next big thing for phones? I would love to know if anyone has inside information. What we do know is that the Galaxy S9 will be coming out soon, and according to these leaked photos, we'll have a dual camera system on the back and some crazy kind of high definition output at 420 frames per second. Let me pull up this article because I don't want to misquote it. Where'd we go? Where did my article go? Oh, you're kidding me. Let's see if we can open this back up. Nope. Well, I lost my bookmarks when I restarted my computer trying to make sure we had good stream health. So let's see if we can go back here and find it. Where is my stream info? I uploaded my pictures to Google Photos, and it's an easy way to document special events. Yeah, you know, Harvey, call me paranoid, but I hate uploading my photos to anyone, to anywhere. It's I'm a conspiracy theorist, if you want to call me that. I'm not really, but I am skeptical about some of that stuff. You know, especially when those, not because of the company involved, but because these things can be accessed on occasion by people that they shouldn't be. And, you know, you really have to trust not just the company you're dealing with, but also the employees behind the scenes. But not that anyone would care about my pictures, obviously. I don't know, it's just kind of weird to me. Brain implants, yeah. I think outside of some VR sunglasses, brain implants, that's probably going to be, maybe some of us will be gone by then. But that certainly seems like an integration between VR and people is probably somewhere down the line. Random unrelated question. I love those. Do you think people should be allowed to call the Apple Watch an iWatch? Yeah. Sure, why not? I mean, Apple has got copyrights on all sorts of things that start with I, right? The thing that gets me is this. Let me find my stream info here, because I want to find these links real quick. The thing that gets me is everyone calling their business I something. You know, if Apple wants to call their watch the iWatch, yeah, sure, why not? But when people say I repair, I fix, I don't know, I cracked, I broke it, you know, whatever. do we have to have an I in everything? And if eventually, sometime in the future, Apple says we're going to drop the I before the name of the phone, or maybe, you know, I know it's going to be a long time and a stretch of the imagination, but what if Apple stops making phones someday and there is no I anything? And is everyone going to stick with the I branding? Probably. But funny story, you know, there used to be this company, and, you know, all I'm going to say is this. They branded themselves using Apple and BlackBerry. And obviously, that wasn't a brilliant move, you know, thinking long term, because BlackBerry is not here anymore. So they kind of changed it and abbreviated things, which was smart. But I'm really always skeptical about tying myself to a particular brand name or term that might not survive for very long. If Apple wants to call their watch the iWatch, whatever, I guess. Let's see. I'll call it iCrap. You can do that. iRare, iShack. Same as E-machines, etc. Oh, good call. Yeah, what happened to E-machines? They're gone. All right, let me get back to this article, because I think everyone is I think the big buzz now is going to be the Galaxy S9. And I read something on here earlier today where they were talking about some leaked information that we should be dealing with. They are switching to a substrate-like PCB or SLP for their circuit boards, which means basically they can fit stuff in a much smaller area, which is going to suck for us, Hawaii, and everyone else, because if you think things are small now, they're supposed to be getting the components much closer together on the motherboard, which I mistakenly call logic board all the time, which is apparently exclusive to Apple products. So the motherboard on the Galaxy S9 is probably going to have things packed in really tight. That might be better than that sandwich board they're doing on the iPhone 10. We are talking about using Samsung's Y-Octa display. They're saying that the thing's going to pretty much look like a Galaxy S8. So as far as the appearance, it's not going to be a big change. What else do we have here? We have something about, I know I read something about a camera on here that sounded like it was going to be ridiculous for slow motion, which I think is really cool. Let's see if I can find the article here. Gosh darn this thing. I'll tell you, every time I restart my computer, things go funny on me. Can we just magnify here? Yes, we can. Okay, so the Galaxy S9, it sounds like the big deal is going to be the camera once again, and they're saying a 3-stack FRS, or let's translate that to 3-stack fast readout sensors composed of 3 layers. Don't start playing a video on this page. God, this makes me insane. I wish people would not embed self-playing videos on their web pages. That sucks for me. Those 3 layers allow it to be used as a more sophisticated camera system with the ability to record slow motion video at 480 frames per second in full 1080 HD. So that's going to be fun, in my opinion, just for entertainment, if nothing else. You know, being able to record things in slow motion, 480 frames per second at 1080 HD, that will be entertaining. There's also a new super phase detection autofocus that will on the fly determine the distance to moving objects and adapt the picture's lighting controls to ensure improved autofocus speeds. I hope this means that the S9's camera will be much easier to operate for people like me who aren't really photographers, because one thing that I do give credit to Apple for, you know, and at the same time it's a plus and it's a minus, and that is your inability and, you know, to change some of the camera settings, which is kind of a bummer, and at the same time it makes point and shoot that much easier, which, you know, obviously this is going to be aimed towards the general public, so you shouldn't have to be a photographer or rocket scientist or anything like that in order to operate a phone. They're talking about a Snapdragon 845 processor. Again, 2 cameras on the back with the fingerprint scanner being in the center. And here's another thing that I've always wondered about. You know, when it comes to functionality on the fingerprint scanner, I've always felt like the iPhone having a fingerprint scanner or even a home button down here at the bottom of the screen is really awkward, because it's not something most of us are going to do with one hand. You know, kind of reaching down here, at least for me, that is not a comfortable position to have a home button in. So I think that LG nailed it when they came up with the idea of putting the home button on the back of the phone. And I suspect the only reason that Apple didn't do that is because they probably have some sort of patent on that technology. I still don't think that having the fingerprint scanner on the back is ideal. You know, if it were up to me, I would put the fingerprint scanner right here where my thumb is. You know, to me that makes sense. But of course we would run into, I think, a problem there, because if you're left-handed, that's going to change things around for you. So maybe customizable buttons. I don't know. I'm just brainstorming here. E-machines back in the 90s. Can't wait for the S9. Will that be your next phone purchase? How many of you are planning to buy the Galaxy S9? And how many are not looking forward to repairing it? Because you know it's going to have a curved screen. And what they're also talking about is having the back of the phone slightly curved, which I really like that idea. You know, if you think about the iPhone 3GS, for example, I know that's going way back, but one of the things that I didn't like about the change from the 3GS to the iPhone 4 is you don't have that nice rounded back piece, you know, that sits in your hand so comfortably. And they started that on the 3G, kept it with the 3GS, and then it was gone. So those are really the only two phones that Apple's made that has that nice, comfortable, rounded back on it. And if Samsung goes towards something a little bit more like that, I think that'll be nice. You know, it fits comfortably in the hand. I'm not sure why they got away from that. And I still don't find that the iPhone 7 is really as comfortable as holding the iPhone 3G or 3GS. So not sure what happened to that idea. Let's see. Would be nice to see again. I'll be sure to turn off the autoplay on my website. Hey Nate, that's only my personal preference, but for a lot of things that I do, you know, sometimes I'll have something playing. I'll have a podcast or a video, or I'm listening to something. I go onto another website, and if you have multiple tabs open, and some of these guys have a delay, it's like you open a tab, and 45 seconds later, something starts playing. And I've got so many tabs open, I don't even know where it's coming from. I know you can look up at the top and there will be an icon, you know, that shows the speaker, but it's just kind of annoying to track it down. So only my personal preference. Don't go based on what I say, but that drives me nuts. Those, and you know, it's the worst thing since like pop-up ads, which is why I have no script on my browser when I'm serious about not having to deal with that stuff. Of course, then I miss half the content too. So there's a trade-off for sure. Just a side question, if you don't mind, have you ever fixed a 6S with no SIM, not reading SIM at all after drop? Are you talking about no service searching or just won't detect the SIM at all? Because there's probably two different things you might be looking at there. I wish iPhones would incorporate laser autofocus camera lens. Maybe they will. You know, Harvey, you should write to Apple. Because I really want to take credit for them releasing a patch to allow people to turn off their battery throttling. I know it has nothing to do with me, but I'm going to act like it did. But who knows? Maybe if you make a suggestion, enough people talk about it, it gets back to them. It's possible. Turn on ad blockers. Yeah, and I turn on, you know, I don't turn on ad blockers across the board, and here's why. You know, exactly what I was talking about earlier. I feel like if you are promoting ads on your video or your website or anything else within reason, I'm cool with that. People have to make money, you know, and if you can't show ads, a lot of times you're not making any money. So I like to allow the creator or the website, or you know, you have a lot of news sites now that are saying, hey, we want you to pay to come here because it costs money and all this stuff. And I understand, you know, put some ads on the page. It's when people get out of control that I want to just have a blacklist of, okay, never go to this website without an ad blocker running, because these guys are ruining the experience. You know, you can't even get to the content because there's so much crap on there. And in that case, I'll typically open up Firefox because I have no script installed and it blocks everything. And I hate to do that. I don't want to do that to people who are just, you know, trying to earn a living. But it's like the very small number of people are kind of ruining the experience for everyone else. What are you going to do? All right, let's see. What else do we have? Wow, it's 3 o'clock? That's crazy. I didn't even realize how fast time was going here. Won't detect SIM at all. So it's just saying no SIM installed. If that's the case, Nate, I know the obvious. You've probably already taken a look at the contacts and tried a different SIM card. Beyond that, you can put a little pressure on it from the inside, and if it's still not picking up and you're convinced that the SIM card is the SIM card reader is physically intact, gosh, I don't know where to go from there. I'd probably have to pull up and take a look and see what connects to that. What are you using any kind of software for your micro soldering? Do you have like ZXW or anything like that? Because I haven't had that experience with the 6S personally. Piano Sam, hey, thanks for joining us. Good to see you. Yeah, we're getting ready to log off here pretty soon, and I didn't even realize it was after 3 o'clock already. So thank you. Hey, thanks for subscribing. And anyone out there who is watching, if you haven't subscribed, I really do appreciate your subscriptions, and your likes. That helps me out a lot. You know, if YouTube sees these videos getting liked, it means that people are watching them and they're interacting. And the crazy thing is, I don't want to encourage anyone to dislike my video, but if someone had to choose between not doing anything and disliking, I would actually encourage them to dislike because they all count as interactions. So both of them help, but obviously a like is more desirable than a dislike. So I hope that you guys will like the videos as I publish and do the live streams and stuff. And I've got something cool coming up very soon. I know I've been talking about it forever, but I'm this close to getting some live interviews. We won't be able to use this format, but I am going to be bringing in some other people from phone repair businesses, vendors, and other associated tech channels so that we can do some Google Hangouts and have some conversation going with more people than just myself. So that is very close to happening. I've already got some responses from people that I've contacted, so I'm hoping to get that going within the next week or two here. God, I'm ahead of myself here. Man, some days I can't talk at the beginning of the stream, and some days I can't talk at the end. So I think that was everything I had on my agenda. I will definitely keep the chat open for a while in case you guys have questions or comments or anyone who just jumped on, but we will be wrapping it up here shortly. So if you have anything you want to put in the chat, now's the time to do so. You're on ZXWN Schematics. Okay, so you're doing pretty much the same thing that I am, and I don't know right off the top of my head, Nate. I can do some networking and check with other people that I know. That's usually my go-to, you know, if it's not something I've run into before, which is obviously what you're doing. I haven't seen a no-SIM on a 6S. In fact, I haven't seen no SIM for quite a while. You know, I've seen searching and no signal on the iPhone 6s, which if you probably already heard because you said you're on the iPad rehab forum, there's actually a fix for that, which is kind of scary. But I'm gonna be doing one of those. You know what? In fact, it's a 6S. I'm going to be doing is it a NAND? No, it's a baseband that I'm going to be pulling one of the baseband components off and running those two jumpers. I think it's on U1 and V1, and see if that brings it back, hopefully. So I'll let you know if that happens. But I haven't seen a no SIM. If I did, I would, or if I come across something, I'll definitely get that back to you. Harvey, thanks for joining us, man. Thanks again for the watch. This is very cool. I've almost got it to where it turns on every time. There's something about the way that I move it. But I will have some more questions about this thing for you. But man, this thing is cool. I gotta say, overall, it's water resistant. You can install a SIM card. You can link it to your phone. It's got a camera built on it. I mean, it's crazy what this thing does. And I have, probably should show you guys this. I had to choose because way back in the day I was a DJ. I found a clock here. Well, let's go ahead and drop it, Mike. Almost hit the floor. I found a clock here that, let's see if it shows up on the camera. It looks like an LP. It looks like a record. Is that cool? I love that. So thanks again for that. Thanks for everyone who joined. I certainly appreciate your support. And I have got my next video coming out. I'm working on right now is going to be addressing liquid damage and ultrasonic cleaner. So hopefully anyone who is doing that kind of treatment will benefit from this. I really want to give, I want to provide more information as to how to make that happen and what not to do, because I think there's a lot of that going on as well. So that'll be coming up in a day or two. And other than that, I will be back on Thursday this week, 6 p.m. And I think that's it. So thanks for watching. I will check you guys out next time.